This is part two of that video. I said earlier that I agree with her, and this is something that I've noticed, and that's why if you go back to my previous video, I talk about Central Africa. How do you say that? I have a title for that. The complexity of a mentality. Okay, and I elaborate on that and explain why I say that part of Africa, precisely, if you look the central part of Africa, it's the very strong, has stronghold in long-lasting president in power, and it doesn't affect the people, to be honest. And I say it has to be because of the way the system works, not only intellectually, okay, and not only because it, in a way, helping that situation of people thinking in a certain way in the country favor the long-lasting power of these people. And I even say that in our countries, for example, we do not have public library, for example. The people in government do not really invest in universities because they know that an educated population is dangerous for their power. We saw through the history of the world that most of the revolution, most of the things that have changed countries came from universities. Because in universities, that's where everything starts from. That's why you have exchange of idea. That's why you have the awakening of people, because they have access to knowledge, they have access to book, they have access to philosophy, they have access to economics. You see what I mean? And in our university, we don't really see like people having important debate with scholar, with people who are intellectual. We don't really see that often. Okay, that's why I say having degrees for me means absolutely nothing. I will listen to the logic, how you think, and I will say that you are really an intellectual to me. Okay, I do not say that I am intellectual, but there are things that have no ties. You have people sometimes, he has huge degree, and then he does things you don't understand how it is possible that that person doing some stuff, and you say, wow. Or you have, for example, people who have high degree, and they found no problem serving a system that is killing the country. And I talk about that, okay? So the lady say, we don't have intellectual elite in Africa, and I say, I agree 100% with her. And I will give you an example of how it should be looking like sometimes in our universities. Because in Africa, our family, our parents have always favored the science. Or you have to study science, or you have to focus on science, which is true. But when people come back from their studies of science, what is the thing that we have in place to see that we can improve, the condition using science, the condition of our country? Nothing. Because it all comes from the mind, the mindset. And the mindset is also coming from the way you think, the intellectual, the analytic, oh my God. Sorry, I will put the word, my English, okay? How you analyze, the critical thinking, okay? There is a quote in French, we say, science sans conscience. The quote say, science sans conscience n'est que ruine de l'âme. I think it was, that quote comes from Rabelais. Rabelais was a thinker. It was a French thinker. You see that most of this country, they have thinkers. They have people, scholars, people, intellectual who were gathering. And I say many times that the decision these people have made in history, if you see all the decisions they put in history at the time they make, are still working today. I say many times that when these Europeans, these people, these thinkers, or whoever they are, the philosopher, all these people made, when they start thinking about making slavery or to improve all the system, or when they talk about colonization, when they separate Africa in pieces like cake, so at Berlin Conference in 1884, I think, You see that these people were thinkers. When you look, for example, in America, when you think about the founding fathers, these people were sitting, they were thinking how to make a nation great, even if, how to make laws, how to make a decision that will make this country great, even when we will be gone. That how can we forget ourselves, but forget our personal need or our personal goal, but put a nation ahead, build a nation, build a strong nation. Why? Even after you will be gone for a century, for a long time, but that foundation that we are going to build, we are going to make for that country will remain still relevant, will remain important. You have things like that. And I say, for example, in America, there is nothing they can do without having to go back in the history, without going that this is the amendment. Even in politics, they have to take their support in why the elders, the ones who have gone a long time, have left. They will look about the amendment. They will tell you how you cannot change or how you cannot change it based on the amendment, based on this, based on that. This is how a nation is great and strong. We don't have it in Africa. That's why even when you see our independence, people have never gathered to think and see how can we make our nation great, because they say they give us independence. Even if they are fake independence, how can we gather as African to make it together? No, most of the people we have in power were people who were selfish, were thinking about their own interests. And that's why I say Black people are the more divisive people, because when you see there are tribalism easily are here, xenophobia easily are here, easily tribalism, easily xenophobia, easy ethnic war, tribal war, easily. So it can be difficult. That's why you need people who gather, who can make a nation by thinking, by analyzing, by doing, that's the problem we have. So science without conscience is only ruin of the soul. That is a quote of Rabelais, science sans conscience n'est que ruine de l'âme. As I said earlier, you see that we go to, many of our parents were encouraging us to go encouraging to most of us to go study science, for example. And then when the young come back from the studies in Europe, for example, because there's always a lack of material in our universities, it's done on purpose. Okay, they come back and they don't see how they can apply all this science, or sometimes they just don't want to do it. They just, and I say that's when it is important to have also encourage young people, encourage people to go study things that would be analyzing. For example, you see that white people, they study ethnology, for example. It's just an example. You see that, for example, in the case of my country, okay, in the case of my tribe, there is a German author. He has a big book about my tribe. He has a big book. He wants to live in my country, but he also has a big book. He come up with a big book that he published about my people, my tribe. And the way he described my tribe is very, very accurate. They have studies, they study many things in these countries. We don't even have, in Africa, we haven't reached that type of study yet. Even though we see that there are ethnic situation that we are struggling still. Why we don't have people who really do a lot of psychology, who do a lot of ethnology, who do all these kind of studies and work together, anthropology, all this. You think that these people in Europe or in America study this thing because they just want to study that? No. You see a person like Jane Goodall, who came to Africa to study chimpanzee, for example, or Dian Fossey, who went to Africa to study the gorilla of mountains. All the studies this lady were doing are not done just like that. Okay? They have a goal. It is something for the development of the society. I don't know how to say that, okay? I don't say that every change in society is always good, but at least if we can have a knowledge of many things we can do to improve our society, because Africa needs a lot of improvement. We have to be honest, we are really backward from decades, very backward. You saw what happened in Madagascar recently, the same case you are talking about, electricity and water. The lady who told me I was crazy in my previous video, my video where I talk about that it's not things are not okay in Africa, and she came to insult me. I hope she watched what happened in Madagascar, why the population, why Gen Z is outside fighting again, we're fighting and asking for the president to resign. It's because when you listen to them, they say that they grew up knowing the problem of electricity and water. I say in my country, same thing, 2025, since the 90s, same thing. You go to Cameroon, same thing. You go to South Africa, I heard they're doing this, it's happening there, same thing. You go to Malawi, same thing, because I also ask questions about that, okay? So you have this situation. Intellectual elite, refers to a group of people who are considered to be the most intelligent, okay, educated, and influencer within a society, often academics, scientists, and other experts. In Africa, for example, we have people who went to study, for example, medical, okay, they come back to be doctors. Few of them going back, okay, to the school or to Europe or wherever they went there to renew, we call it in French, recycle. It's like you have got this knowledge years ago, you need to always refresh your knowledge. In Africa, you have doctors who can never go back to refresh the knowledge. They still, but you see, the white people, for example, they still go to refresh their knowledge. In every branch of what they study, they go back to refresh their knowledge. We don't have it. We don't do it because it's not taught to us. Usually, when people are in retirement, they finish and that's it. They sit. They go to the plantation, they do the farm activity, and that's it. While at the center they can do their farm activity, but still go to university, give their knowledge, share the knowledge, and still also go to other places in the world, give seminaries, give conference, give speeches. We don't do that in Africa. We don't do that. They don't give their knowledge to others. They don't renew, they don't refresh it. It's always the same thing. I've never seen in university academics, scientists, and experts sitting and talking with university students in Africa. I don't recall seeing that often. Maybe it happened, but I haven't seen that. Actually, in my country, at least my country, I've never saw that, okay? Say characteristics and role of intellectual elite. Let's see that. High knowledge and aptitude, okay? Members of this group possess a high level of knowledge and aptitude for critical thinking. We don't have critical thinking. That's why people can come and tell us anything and we accept anything. A perfect example is campaign for presidential election. People take anything, they accept everything, and they go to work based on some nonsense sometimes, most of the time. And learning within their fields, okay? Second thing, influence and authority. Their expertise gives them influence and authority in certain spheres such as academia, government, and media. Creators of new ideas. They are often the ones who develop and introduce new perspectives, innovation, and theories that can drive social and cultural change. You see, and then they say focus on different types of intelligence. While they are primarily associated with logical, mathematical, and verbal linguistic intelligence, the intellectual elite can also encompass those with high level of other intelligence, such as naturalists or existentialists. existential intelligence. You see that, for example, in Africa, you have children, for example, or a young guy, a young student in university or in high school who is very brilliant. You can tell that the child is very intelligent. But first, the problem of poverty, because maybe he comes from a family who don't have money, who can afford to send him abroad, the child or that young person is staying stuck in Africa and doing stuff like anyhow. And the government is not even saying, okay, this is somebody who is extremely intelligent. We can take him, we can send him our own money. We finance his studies, and when he come back to change the country. Not because the problem of educate people in Africa is that the government feel like a threat. They don't want you to have a lot of knowledge. They don't like it. The more you are intelligent, the more you are thinking, critical thinker, the more you become a threat to their power. And the problem is many people in Africa feel comfortable living in this situation. Problem of this change of constitution anyhow. When sometimes we are fighting, we just fight for a few months and then it's over. The situation is the same thing. Because the cycle is always the same. Always the same. Lack of democracy, lack of free speech. You saw what happened in Kenya. The young blogger, the activist blogger who was, I think he was a teacher, I think. He was, okay, alive because of his opinion, because he, in a way, asked question, actually ask accountability to the government, to member of his locality, I think. And the guy had a blog. He was a blogger also, where he was denouncing all that. And then one day the police, it happened in Kenya, the police came and they asked him to follow them. And then what happened, he came back, they brought his body dead, to find out that the guy was actually tortured to death. So it's a very common lack of democracy, lack of free speech, because the moment people realize that the people start thinking too much, it becomes a problem. But on the other side too, the people have accepted the situation, so it makes more and more difficult to actually change the situation in Africa. We don't know. It has to be somewhere we have to break the cycle. And that's all I have to say. And I agree with that lady 100%. There is a problem of intellectual elite. We have a huge problem of that. You will never see an example like that. I will show you right now. You see?
Can we settle down, please? We're going to move on to our questions. Our first question is from Zunaisha Zubair from Sydney, Sussex.
Professors, there are scholars, there are people who are sitting, students. Yeah, you see? All these people, we don't have it.
Everybody is suffering from something, then yes, of course. There's no moral, something is only a moral question if it affects people's well-being.
You see, that's what I was talking about. We don't have it in our university, you can even start in high school. You can have situations like that. You can have debate where you just make young people think and critical analysis, good debate. And you see in this class, in this room, there were scholars, there were professors, academia, all these people are sitting, and it elevate the way you elevate your, I mean, it will push you. It will push the student to go read more books because they want to, you know. You see what I mean? We don't have it in Africa. We don't have it, and well, it's really sad. It's really sad. We don't have it in Africa. It's really sad, and that's why, in a way, we have a long way. We have to be honest. It's going to be a long way to go. And I don't want to make people discouraged, but we need people, we need to have more studies, and that's what I wanted to say anyway. So thank you. I hope what I say makes sense, and I hope to see you in another video. Thank you for watching.